next up, we will hear about a journey of a crypto builder. Please give a warm welcome to a managing director of Coinlist, Spencer Huang.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, I'm Spencer, managing director at Coinlist. Been in crypto for about 7 years. Previously was at Masari doing research and also ran the blockchain club at Northwestern University. And currently at Coinlist, handle a lot of our offshore operations and also our biz devs, partnerships efforts. And also, honestly, I've done a bit of everything at the company. So I'm here to talk to you about the journey of a crypto builder. Who here is actively working on a crypto protocol or would like to do so one day? Would you raise your hands? Awesome, a lot of you. And who here is like building infrastructure for builders and for protocols? Awesome, a lot of you as well. So hopefully this talk can be helpful. I'm going to talk a bit about some of the common problems that we see entrepreneurs face in the crypto industry, some of the things you should be really thinking about and planning ahead for as you build, and then also some of the solutions that we've been building out at Coinlist that can hopefully be helpful for you guys. So really quickly, who's Coinlist? Coinlist is the trusted one-stop shop for crypto builders, where essentially our mission is to help crypto builders throughout their whole journey as they build out their protocols, and then also connect them with the highest quality retail users in the world. So in the past, we've helped launch a lot of high-quality protocols, including Solana, Filecoin, Mina, Agoric, Axelar, and a bunch of other Cosmos projects that are here at the conference today. We have over 8 million users all over the world, and we have worked with over 100 protocols over the 7 years of the company's life cycle. And we've helped them launch from a token sale perspective. We've also serviced them and helped them grow with our exchange. And we've built out a lot of different products to help them operationalize over their lifetimes. So what exactly is the problem, right? What is the problem that a lot of builders face? I would argue one of the biggest issues right now is that the builder stack is super complex, confusing, and there's a lot of missing pieces. And what do I mean by that? In Web 2, if you're building a company, you can go to AngelList Stack, you can go to Stripe Atlas. There are a bunch of these services and SaaS products that service you and help make the whole journey really easy and simple. But a lot of that is missing in crypto because this industry is so nascent. A lot of these products are still being built out. A lot of the regulations are not very clear. As a result, it's really hard for the infrastructure companies to build out the correct products. For example, taxes, right? If you're a builder, how do you handle taxes? How do you handle the taxes around the distributions to your employees over time? A lot of these regulations are not very clear, so it's really hard for you to figure that out. And as a result, a lot of the vendors that provide tax software are incomplete as well. So that's really difficult. Similarly, from a technological perspective, what chain do I build on? Do I build on Solana to use the TPS? Do I build on ETH for all the composability? Do I have my own app chain on Cosmos? Very difficult questions. And to make this even harder, a lot of Web 2 companies also reject crypto companies as clients. Banking, for example, right? Post-banking collapse, that made our company's lives pretty difficult over a few months. And I'm sure if you use a centralized exchange, you probably experience stuck withdrawals and whatnot to fiat during that period. That just showcases how difficult it is to get your very basic fundamental stacks going in the first place. So as a builder, you're faced with immense execution risk in crypto. And to make that even harder, there's a lot of regulatory risk and also scammer sophistication risk that you're running into if you're building a crypto, right? We all know in the US, for example, regulatory risk has been really tough for crypto builders. The SEC is coming after us. All these different regulators are coming after us, even though there's not very clear guidance. Similarly, there's a lot of hackers and people actively trying to exploit your protocol, especially if you're building in the DeFi space. You have Lazarus from North Korea that's constantly trying to attack you and siphon funds back into the motherland. So these are things that you should always be actively fighting against. And so as a builder, you're not only facing execution risk, you're facing regulatory risk, and you're facing scammer risk over time that can hurt you and your retail users. So as an investor as well, you want your companies to minimize that risk overall, right? So you can have the best return on investment. So how should you be thinking about this? And what happens if you don't do things right? This is probably what will happen to you if you don't do things right? Gary's going to come after you. Even if you do things correctly, you still run that risk to some extent. So how do we go and mitigate that as much as we can as entrepreneurs? So I would like to think about the building journey in a series of milestones, split between the pre-launch stages and the post-launch stage. So pre-launch, by launch I mean your token launch, your network launch, getting your token out the door, getting your mainnet out, getting users on the protocol. So I like to think about it in 4 categories here. First is operational setup, and I'll talk about 1 or 2 pitfalls that I oftentimes see founders run into or like not do things the correct way. So within operational setup, I think legal structure and your entity structuring is really, really important to get right the very first time. Because what will happen is eventually when you go to mainnet launch, you have to get these things really, really buttoned up. So if you have a bad lawyer in the beginning, you'll have to redo this, increase costs. And additionally to that, you are increasing a lot of risk because the regulators are not going to only look at when you are doing things correctly. They'll also look at when you are doing things incorrectly and use that as an attack vector for you. So do things right from an operational setup, from a legal setup perspective the first time. Second is product development. And I would argue one of the things that people don't do enough here is designing their tokens correctly and treating your token as a product. As David said earlier, right? Protocols are not just technology, they're products ultimately. So you should really be thinking about your token utility, your token design, your token economics, and make sure that this thing is actually going to be useful in the long term. Because the thing that people need to realize is the moment you push your token out to mainnet, you're effectively doing an IPO. Your token valuation may be pumped up in the short term from speculators, but long term, if there's no product market fit, that price is just going to drop over time, right? So treat your token as a product from day one and really think about it from that mindset and design your product correctly. Next is community growth. When we think about community growth in crypto, a lot of times people just think, oh, I just need to get hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers, as big of a community as possible, right? And in the bull market, that worked. But then what you realize is in the bear market, all the people are gone. You have 0 speculators who are going to stick with you during these bear markets. You want to curate the highest quality community from day one by incentivizing correct behaviors, by giving them upside, by tapping in quality people who are developers and like people who are builders instead of just pure speculators. Obviously, speculators have a space in this industry and they're indispensable, but they should not be the sole focus. And hype should not be the sole focus as a protocol from a community growth perspective. And next is network launch. There's a lot of different steps that go into network launch. I worked on many of these throughout my time at Coinlist. And one of the things that people oftentimes don't think about enough is your launch mechanism. I think this industry suffers from the problem of being overly mimetic. People oftentimes just follow what everyone else is doing. Oh, every L2 is doing an airdrop. I'm going to do an airdrop. But you're not really thinking about what are the needs of my company, right? Do I need fundraise? Do I need distribution? If I'm going to do distribution, what is the best way to do that? Who are the communities I should be tapping? How do I decrease the number of scammers? How do I be Sybil resistant? All these different things you should really be thinking about. I personally have a lot of opinions about airdrops, so if you'd like to debate that, come find me. I'll be out there. And next is post-launch priorities. So now that you have your token out in the wild, what should you be thinking about? First is token liquidity. A lot of times people are not thinking about how do you get your token out into the wild, getting the sufficient liquidity out there from day one and over time correctly, right? If you don't have enough tokens out there from day one, then your price might experience some really, really volatile price action. But you have too much, then you might not have enough treasury funds over the long period of time to fund multiple progress and like grant programs and whatnot. So really think about that. Getting your vesting schedules correct is very important. Next is network health. One of the unfortunate realities of crypto over the few years is like, it seems to me that decentralization has become somewhat less of a focus for a lot of teams. I'm not going to spread any FUD or point any fingers, but we all know that a lot of teams or a lot of protocols are more or less controlled by the foundation, the core team, and some whales, right? That's not really what we're here for. We're here to build decentralized technology. So think about your decentralization from a validator perspective. How do you get the most decentralized group validating your network? How do you get governance going, and how do you get your DAOs incentivized? And how do you have the correct structures in place so that your protocol can decentralize over time so you don't have any regulatory problems in the long term? Next is user adoption. This is, I think, a really interesting one. I think the industry is starting to wrap its head around using metrics to drive user adoption, think about user adoption. What do I mean by that is like very basic concepts like customer acquisition costs or like lifetime value of users. Very few people in crypto think about these things, but they're immensely important. If you look at Arbitrum's airdrop, for example, right? Their CAC was like $2,000. Google can't afford that. Like, let alone a small industry like like crypto. So we should really be thinking about user adoption from a metrics-driven perspective and a product market fit perspective. And lastly is ecosystem development. So, obviously a lot of people are building technology, which is great. And I think that's what we need. We need a lot of research, we need a lot of development. But BD is also really important in the industry. And I would say that's one of the issues that Cosmos suffers a lot, right? We don't have very clear BD leaders. We don't have people driving partnerships. And what I mean by partnerships is not just, bullshit marketing campaigns together, like post a Twitter post and everyone's happy. What I mean is building on each other, actually leveraging the composability of crypto. That's really the beauty of this technology. And also like the interoperability of crypto. That's overall like the really big ethos of Cosmos, right? You want to create this network and this ecosystem that can be mutually beneficial for each other, help each other grow, and partner in those regards, not just marketing campaigns and hype. So now that we understand some of the things that we should be thinking about and some of the problems, let's talk about some of the things that Coinlist is building, and hopefully that can be helpful for you guys in the long term. So currently, Coinlist is trying to build out that one-stop shop and build products at every step of the way that I talked about. Obviously, we can't do everything in the get-go, so we are working on partnerships to fill those different gaps that we don't have core competencies in. So if you're a builder in those infrastructure spaces, please talk to me. We'd love to talk to you and see if we can work together. But here are some of the products that we have. In operational setup, we have an IDV product that can help you KYC, KYB, fulfill your very basic compliance needs. From a network launch perspective, we recently launched an incentivized testnet product where we can help you market your program to our tens of thousands of validators on our platform, KYC those participants and distribute the rewards. We obviously have a token sale business, that's our bread and butter, and we also have an airdrop business. We actually pioneered the airdrop model in 2018, 2019 with ICP back in the day and distributed to hundreds of thousands of users. Next is token liquidity. We have a vesting product that can help you vest your tokens to investors, employees, and various stakeholders in your protocol ecosystem. And lastly, we can help you grow your protocol as we have a full-fledged exchange with millions of users all over the world. We help you reach retail with trading, staking, lending, custody, governance, and essentially get those users to participate in your protocol in a much more easy and centralized and on-ramp fashion, and then they can go on-chain eventually, and we can incentivize that behavior. So, as I mentioned, if you're a builder of a protocol, please come talk to me, especially if you're thinking about doing a token sale or airdrop eventually. And if you have any of these different needs that I mentioned, come talk to me as well. Hopefully, we can service you. And if you're an infrastructure builder, please come talk to me as well. I would love to work on partnerships with you guys. And lastly, if you are interested in some of the products, you can go to coinlist.co. There's a builders tab. There's an interest form there that you can fill out. And then you can also find me at Huang Spencer on Twitter. So yeah, thank you all for your time.